Next, the number of investigations into police officers alleged to have abused their position for sexual purposes is at a record level. An inspection of the Office of the Police Ombudsman for Northern Ireland found it had 19 active cases as of July 2024. Since then, the number has risen to 24. Jaqui Durkin is Chief Inspector of Criminal Justice in Northern Ireland. That's a big title, Jaqui.
Thank you, Stephen. Good morning.
Good morning. So what's going on within the police?
Well, this inspection was about how effectively the Police Ombudsman's Office investigated abusive position complaints and concerns. And abusive position includes abusive position for sexual purposes, but it also includes other malpractice and concerns about if police officers or staff have used their power, authority or position to do something improper.
Is this asking people for sex who they are arresting or investigating? Is that what this is about?
Well, it can cover a range of activities. If you're talking specifically about abusive position for sexual purposes, it can be police officers or staff using information or access to people that they've been in contact with to develop a sexual relationship, or it can be like predatory behaviour. It can be using contact details or information that's in police records to get in touch with people, either by mobile phone or by calling at their house. So it's a range of activities, and it's absolutely vital that there's effective and impartial investigation of those cases. And of course, they're concerned for confidence in policing. And it's also important that the police service are confident in those investigations that are taking place by the Police Ombudsman's Office.
Can you help? Obviously, you're not going to mention any names, but or specific details. But can you give us a sense of some of the examples so that we, the public, know what's been going on?
Well, there have been recent convictions, and those are a matter of record, and they've been reported in the media. So I don't want to get into individual cases, but they can different types of sexual offences or allegations. I think what's really important is about encouraging victims to come forward if they have concerns, to come forward and make sure that when they do come forward and make a complaint or raise a concern with the Police Ombudsman's Office, that they're well supported throughout that lengthy process. So what this inspection found was that the Police Ombudsman's Office, when they knew that there were needs that needed to be met by victims, they were good at responding to them. But what I've recommended is that they do some further work and improve how they do that in assessing the needs of victims right throughout a process that can end up in a court case or can end up going back to the PSNI for a recommendation for misconduct proceedings.
Recommendation for improvement means that they weren't doing something right enough. What were they not doing that they need to improve?
Well, I think it's important to recognise that the Police Ombudsman's Office, as I say, when they knew there were particular needs from a victim, were good at responding to it. And what I'm saying very clearly in this report is that the victim charter rights that are available to victims who are involved in court proceedings, that right from the outset, when they raise those concerns with the Police Ombudsman's Office, there is an assessment of those needs. There's pathways to other support services that, whether it's Assist NI or Nexus or others, and provide people with support that they need right throughout that process. And that can change because the process of the investigation, potential prosecution, outcome of a case, that can go on, as we know, a long period of time, and those needs might change during that time. So I want to be very clear today, it's about confidence in the process of investigation by the Police Ombudsman's Office, but it's also giving victims who haven't come forward confidence to come forward and make those allegations.
How can there be confidence if some of the cases are taking 17 months to investigate?
Well, we know that complex cases that might involve forensic analysis of phones or laptops, iPads, might involve very vulnerable victims. There might be a strategy in that investigation that leads investigators needing to do more work and interview more witnesses. So they can be very complex and detailed obviously they're all detailed, but they can be lengthy investigations and require that sort of length of time. What I'm concerned about and what I've recommended is that the Police Ombudsman's Office make sure that where there is unnecessary delay, that is minimised, that there's good oversight, there's good quality assurance, and they build on that to make sure that investigations are progressed, and if a file is going to the Public Prosecution Service, that it goes to them. But the report, I think it's important to say, the report also acknowledges that the quality of the files that are sent to the Public Prosecution Service were of a high standard.
The Deputy Chief Constable, Bobby Singleton, he's just recently got the job, said the following: the abuse of position by a serving police officer or staff member is totally unacceptable. It is not and will not be tolerated. Again, should that not jar when the public then learn that the Ombudsman identified 7 alleged victims of abuse of position for a sexual purpose known to police, but the police didn't refer the cases to the Ombudsman? So you've got Bobby Singleton saying, we won't tolerate it. And then when they are aware of a serious allegation about a police officer, in 7 cases, they don't even refer to the Ombudsman.
Yeah, and that's why I've said very clearly in this report, abuse of position and a strategy to address it by the Police Ombudsman's Office is needed, but also the Professional Standards Department and the PSNI need to be very clear when they are required to refer a case. And indeed, if the Public Prosecution Service identify through their review of a file that there have been concerns, then they can raise and refer those matters to the Police Ombudsman's Office as well. But I think what Deputy Constable Singleton also said this morning was that, and press statement said that they have reviewed those cases. 6 of them are now with the Police Ombudsman's Office for investigation, and that they are taking action on that.
Yeah, but Jackie, I think just finally, I think there is surely more questions to ask about how does our police service never mind 7, not immediately refer every one of those cases. You're telling me that they reviewed it. What was the thinking? Was it the same person decided? Because it's a proactive decision to decide we are not going to send that to the Police Ombudsman when they know they ought to have.
Yeah, and that's about
So is the same person in that organisation that didn't?
Well, that's for the police service to analyse about what happened in those cases, to identify if training is needed for those officers or more widely across the police service in recognising the signs of abusive position, not only for sexual purposes but wider than that. And in the police service code of conduct and their professional standards, if a police officer suspects another officer, a member of staff, of having behaved improperly, they are required under their code of ethics to report them. So I think there's an education piece as recognised in these recommendations as well with the police to make sure that any such case is referred to the Police Ombudsman appropriately. Did
you get, I know you need to go, so last question, I promise. Are you confident, and how are you confident, that the PSNI as an organisation did not proactively try to either hide or sweep those cases under the carpet, because everybody knows that a case like that should be referred to the Police Ombudsman, and in 6 of those cases after review they have been. So how can we be confident it wasn't a proactive decision to keep it away from the Ombudsman?
Well, I can say that my inspectors found no evidence of that, and it's certainly for the police service to look at those cases and understand why it happened and to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Well, why did it happen? There's no evidence. What did you find? Why didn't they do it?
Well, that's for the police service, as I've said, to analyse what the knowledge and skills of the officers who are looking at those cases and professional standards department, and making sure that they are referred. What I can say is that it's completely vital that the public have confidence in investigations that are taking place by the Police Ombudsman's Office, and likewise the PSNI need to be confident in that process as well.
Jackie, thanks for coming in. I'll let you go. Like, what is it? 2.5 minutes after we said we'd let you out. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much. Morning.